you hear it all the time. People say, I shot a 9, so I moved a little, and I shot another 9 right next to it. So I moved a little and shot another 9 right next to it. Well, you got to go. You either got to just have the guts and move on out or not and stop.
Well, the reason that happens is that's what's known as getting behind the wind, right?
Exactly.
You're actually moving exactly. The problem about this is you are correct. You are reading the wind correctly. The problem is you're already behind it because if you were in the X
Yeah.
and you were doing that, you'd be in the X the whole time. But you hit a 9, and that's what made you move. But all you're doing is compensating for the error. You got to get in front of it. But it's really hard
Yeah.
for people to move when they're in the X ring. Isn't that
Yeah.
right? Like you're hitting X's, and then you see something, but you're like, no, I was an X. I'm just gonna stay there, and boom, you hit a 9, and then you compensate.
Yeah. The last string I shot down at Raton the other day was really windy, and I started out shooting no wind on the gun, holding the left 3, and it was a good call for windage, and this is during siders. And then during the course of that string, I worked all the way out to 5 right, and I kept shooting 10s at 3 o'clock. And so I'd come in a little and shoot a 10 at 3 o'clock, and I'd come in a little and shoot a 10 at 3 o'clock. And I finally got into where I was holding like a right 2 1/4, and it scared me to death because the Mirage was still looked like it was doing this, but that's where they kept going. So you got to go with what they're saying. But I cleaned it, and that was one of my better cleans I would probably ever shot. Was in that because of that wind. It was tough.
Do you ever safe side, or are you trying to shoot X's?
Oh yeah. I'll
one?
say that. That was kind of what was going on there. I was afraid to come in.
Well, that's what I was asking. You were just playing it safe, so you weren't shooting for the X. You were just saying, at any point this thing's gonna die and it's gonna move over or pick up. So
yeah, I was afraid it was gonna pick up.
Yeah, so you're staying on the low end. Just if it picks up, it gives you the full 10 ring, or
right,
3/4 of the 10 ring to be wrong. But again, there is a time to safe side, and there's a time to just go for it.
Yeah, and there's time to take a nap.
Yes, and the good shooters, the difference is they know when to do which.
Exactly. I'm as guilty as anybody else about not moving, shooting 3 9s or whatever. Well, usually I'll stop by then. But we all do it. But I just got to try to remember it. Either go ahead and move it out there or quit. Just stop.
Yeah, it's. I wonder why we get paralyzed so bad, because that's the only thing I can compare it to, is just getting paralyzed by is it the fear? I don't know what it is, because you literally get paralyzed. You want to move, but you don't. You sometimes I find myself like, I'm gonna go 2 rings, and I'm about to pull it. I'm like, no. So I move in to 1, and then I shoot a 9 downwind. The first one would have been right, but somehow I get paralyzed when you want to push it out.
Well, just moving a lot is unnerving. To move a lot from your previous shot,
right?
Because I guess that's some doubt we all have about our wind reading abilities. Yeah, it looks bigger, but I don't know.
Well, and of course the worst thing that sometimes happens is the shot goes exactly where we're pointing, right?
Yeah.
The shot went right where I was holding.
Well, that's an easy one. Then you move in and hold center and rip them.
Exactly. But it's just amazing how, and this goes back to the mental game, right? It's like we know what we need to do, but yet we don't do it because we're afraid.
Yeah.
It's like it's right there. The data supports that you need to move 2 rings. But
yeah,
I better not. And then just keep pounding.
That just seems too much of a move to make in one shot,
So Canada 2017, on the last day I decided, I was 19th place, and I decided 19th or 50th, it doesn't matter. I'm going for it. And on the last string of the day, when it was really windy, remember that? It was just horrendous. And of course, we're pair firing. I'm moving 2 to 3 rings per shot, just out and in and out. And of course, they were about a minute apart, minute and a half, because pair firing, however long it was. So I would look, make a call, and I said, I'll just move. And I figured if I tank it, it doesn't matter. And I was down 2 points with only 1 shot to go. And on the last one, I went 3 rings, I remember. And I thought, oh man, I'm probably going to hit a 4-up wind. You know what? No, I better keep it safe. I moved in a ring. And then I thought, if I drop another point, I'm okay. I don't want to drop 2. So I moved in, and guess what? I dropped a point. Downwind. If I would have just went with my initial, it wouldn't have mattered. But the point is, I just decided, hell with it. And it worked out. But most of the time, it doesn't.
Right.
And of course, that 19th, because of that one string, I went from 19th to 5th. And it was over, which part of me was glad. But sometimes it just, you know what it's like. Sometimes you're shooting and you have no idea. What do you do then? Like, you just hope it's over?
Sometimes, yeah.
Just shoot faster?
Well, in the big winds and in Mirage, I have a lot of trouble with Mirage. My vision is not very good right now in my shooting eye. I've got a cataract in my right eye, and that's I shoot with. And of course, I put a patch over my left eye, which sounds totally ridiculous, but that's just the way I do it. And then when the Mirage gets up, I have a hard time with vertical. But in those big winds, I mean, it's like we had a Raton. I shot some horrific scores. I shot in the Palma, first day of the Palma that we shot, I shot a 411.
Sorry. Wow.
I mean, I was laughing about
let me tell you why I laughed. Because if somebody had told me that you shot a 411, I would have never believed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In the 1,000-yard string, this is just 15 shots. I think I shot a 123 at 1,000.
Wow. Yeah. That is, what's his name? What was his name that from West Texas that used to shoot with Ben Milam and all them?
Freddie
Haltom. He used to say that he had the record for most 9s in a 15-shot string. He shot 15 9s. He said nobody has ever shot more 9s than him in a 15-shot string. He shot 15.
I would have taken 15 9s.
Right?
I was shooting 7s and 5s and 6s, and
it's amazing how sometimes you just lost and everything piles on, right? So you get lost, and all of a sudden you feel, at least for me, I feel more tired, and I just feel like, F this, I just want it to be over. And then I start to shoot faster and just kind of rip off the Band-Aid, and it just again, back to the mental game, right? You just check out, and you're like, I just want this to be over.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
It's impressive it's incredible how often that happens. And when I talk to shooters, how the same they had, pretty much everybody has the same experience. And the more frustrated you get, your scores are gonna tank, because you don't want to be there. After a while, you just don't want to be there. You don't want to shoot.
Yeah, every decision I've made so far has been wrong, so I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. So when you encounter a condition that you're doing pretty good in, and it changes, and now you look down there and you don't know what to do, is that a good time to stop? Or
that's when you, hopefully, if others around you are shooting, you can you watch their targets. I think it's building, and I'm not going to shoot, so let's see what this guy does. And and if his goes way out, I was right. It's building, so I'm gonna, watching other people's targets is a kind of important, because you can get a good idea. And ideally, if you're shooting with someone who's a good shooter, you're all kind of doing the same thing anyway. And so if you stop and watch them, and they suddenly wing one way off the left, something changed. Mm-hmm. So I either need to adjust for that, or I got to stop and wait. and hopefully somebody will shoot a sighter for me.
Yeah, that's Seabolt kind of got this rule into me. It's his rule. Then I kind of stole it and I use it as my rule now. When I don't know what's going on, I stop, right? And kind of like you said, I start watching my neighbors. But if they hit 3X's in a row, I jump in.
It's tough not to go when they're doing that.
Yeah,
You don't know what they're doing, but still, stable enough that they're doing that.
You say, okay, I don't know what they're doing, but at least I know it's stable. So I'm going to take a cider. Hopefully, when we say cider, it's for record, but we call it a cider because we don't know what we're doing. So we jump in and hope to hit a 10. But whatever it is that you hit, you just compensate off of that and you rip it.
And then you go, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just all kinds of different strategies that are employed.
Tonight I'm feeling me, gonna make an ugly scene. Tonight I'm feeling